This story is about how one small mistake can lead to tragic consequences. A student went home and disappeared without a trace. Her smartphone signal vanished on the outskirts of the city. Only thanks to police surveillance cameras, it was quickly revealed, uncovering a shocking truth. In this video, we will tell you what happened to Samantha Josephson. On Friday, March 29, 2019, 21-year-old University of South Carolina student Samantha Josephson was having fun with friends at the Bird Dog Club in Columbia. Around 2 a.m., when all her friends had dispersed home, she too decided to leave the club. The girl stepped out onto the street and hailed a taxi through an app on her phone. Within minutes, a car pulled up to the club's doors. Samantha started towards it, but quickly realized it wasn't the Chevrolet Impala that was supposed to take her home as indicated in the app. However, before Samantha could return to the club entrance, another car arrived, a black Chevrolet Impala. This was the model assigned to her by the app. The student opened the door and, after exchanging a few words with the driver, got into the back seat. Once Samantha was inside, the car slowly rolled down the road and soon disappeared from the view of the surveillance camera. A few minutes later, another black Chevrolet Impala stopped near the Bird Dog Club, precisely the one supposed to take the student home. After waiting for about 5 minutes, the taxi driver canceled the ride and left. At that moment, no one except the man driving the Impala knew that the student, who was studying political science in her final year, had gotten into the wrong car. Later, when the police reviewed the surveillance footage, they saw that this black Chevrolet had been leisurely driving around the 5 Points area for over 2 hours. Since this area was known for its numerous clubs and bars, there was no doubt about what the driver was up to. He was clearly targeting a victim, and his choice fell on Samantha. The next morning, Samantha's friends tried to reach her by phone, but all their calls were redirected to voicemail. And when it was discovered that the student hadn't returned home the previous night, it prompted them to contact the police. A missing person report for the girl was filed with the police at 1:30 p.m. Meanwhile, 2 turkey hunters from the town of New Zion, about 100 kilometers from where Samantha was last seen, were tracking their prey in the marshy forest and stumbled upon a horrifying discovery. Among the dense bushes lay a woman. Her clothes were soaked in something red. Stunned by the gruesome scene, the men immediately called 911. Local police promptly arrived at the crime scene, and they immediately recognized the victim as Samantha Josephson, who had been listed as missing for only 3 hours. The medical examiner who conducted the autopsy couldn't determine the exact number of injuries on Samantha. By his estimates, there were over 100. She wasn't close to the attacker, by the way. Apparently, the woman had fought desperately for her life, but the killer was stronger and left her no chance of survival, completing what he started to the end. Since the quality of the video footage showing Samantha getting into the suspect's car didn't allow for the license plate to be seen, the police had to resort to old-fashioned methods. Officers relied on their instincts and decided to patrol the area where the assailant had picked up Samantha. Their logic was clear. If the perpetrator had spent several hours searching for a victim there before, he might well return to try again. The police were right. On March 30th, around 3 a.m., just 24 hours after the student's murder, officers in a patrol car spotted a black Impala slowly moving around the 5 Points area. When they stopped the car, the driver suddenly jumped out and started to flee. his attempt at escape was feeble, as the officers caught up with him after 3 blocks. The detained individual turned out to be 24-year-old Nathaniel Rowland, a resident of New Zion. When the officers conducting the arrest looked inside the car, they saw bloodstains on the back seat. Suspecting it could be the crime scene, they called for backup. Soon after, experts from the Homicide Investigation Department arrived and began searching the Impala. Inside, they found bloodstains that had been clumsily attempted to be wiped away with simple napkins, and under the seat lay Samantha's mobile phone. Additionally, a whole box of various cleaning supplies was found in the trunk. It was evident that Nathaniel intended to dispose of evidence more thoroughly, but didn't have the chance. The man was taken to the station and interrogated. However, despite overwhelming evidence, he protested his arrest and denied any involvement in Samantha's death. Rowland was subjected to a compulsory medical examination, during which traces of Samantha's DNA were found under his fingernails. This was a stroke of luck because, strangely, the perpetrator's DNA was not found on the girl's body. With so much evidence against him, there was no doubt about the perpetrator's identity. According to detectives' findings, as soon as Samantha got into the perpetrator's car, Rowland activated the child lock, preventing her from getting out of the car even if she wanted to. Rowland then stopped the car, took out a folding knife, and quickly moved to the back seat. This caught Samantha off guard, so initially she didn't even defend herself. After committing the heinous act, Rowland drove to the rural area of New Zion, where he hid Samantha's body among the bushes. It turned out that Rowland's home and his parents' home were just a 5-minute drive from that location. This was another significant piece of evidence against him. Upon returning home, Rowland spent most of the day on social media, chatting with friends as if nothing had happened. If the crime committed the previous night weighed on his conscience, he skillfully concealed it. Studying Rowland's biography, detectives were somewhat surprised to learn that relatives and acquaintances described him as a devout churchgoer and a talented engineer who studied at the University of South Carolina. However, sticking only to the facts, Rowland was not an exemplary and law-abiding citizen. He had repeatedly broken the law and had been detained 3 times for minor offenses. As for the university, he was expelled from there in 2017. Interestingly, when detectives searched the trash bins behind his home in New Zion, they found his sock and bandana, which had traces of Samantha's blood. With a plethora of evidence proving Nathaniel's guilt, formal charges of Samantha Josephson's murder were brought against him. When the trial began in the summer of 2021, Rowland's lawyer chose the expected tactic. "My client is innocent because there is no DNA evidence of Nathaniel found on Samantha's body," he told the court. The prosecution, however, pointed to a multitude of other pieces of evidence found in Rowland's car and elsewhere. This included the phone billing of the man, which confirmed that on the night of March 29, 2019, he had been in the area where Samantha's body was later found. On July 27, 2021, after an hour of deliberation, the jury found Nathaniel Rowland guilty on all counts of the indictment. Before delivering the verdict, the judge allowed the man to speak. But instead of expressing remorse for his crime or apologizing to Samantha's grieving family, he once again proclaimed his innocence and the corruption of the law enforcement system, which, in his opinion, refused to seek the real perpetrator. The judge, clearly unsettled by this tirade, responded to Rowland, stating that the investigation was one of the most thorough and the evidence was compelling. Therefore, It would be better for him to accept that he would be punished for his crime rather than blaming the police. In the end, the judge sentenced Rowland to life in prison without the possibility of parole, as he vehemently refused to take responsibility for his crime. Unfortunately, the motive remained a mystery. Even detectives couldn't understand what drove the young man to commit the crime. Yes, Nathaniel had committed several minor offenses before, but murder, especially such a brutal and senseless one, was a whole different matter. And if you found this video insightful, don't hesitate to give it a like and share it with others who might find it interesting. Every like, share, and subscription goes a long way in supporting our channel. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.